Hello everyone and welcome to the 2021 Super League Grand Prix from Spa-Francorchamps. This is round 11 of the 16 races in the Super League Championship. Spa-Francorchamps, of course, everyone knows it. It's one of the most popular and famous Grand Prix circuits that there are, one of the oldest as well, and it's setting the scene for today's Super League race. We're currently just a couple of minutes away from qualifying, so let's take this opportunity to look at some of the development programs that these drivers have been, or that these teams have been putting into their cars. There have been some significant upgrades coming into this round for some of the teams. Look at Adonis there, very upgraded car. They put a lot of points into their component mass, so their mass reduction. Not as much as Burst, although Burst, of course, still lagging a little behind in terms of the overall points put in. I believe Cenobite have had a couple of updates, although they are still lagging a little way behind the rest of the pack. But they've put in a very varied selection of updates over the course of the season in general. Still Holland and Edge the only teams to have upgraded the front wing downforce, which probably won't be that important here at Spa-Francorchamps. Let's take a look at something that will be important, which is going to be the engine development. Now the engines, of course, this is a very high-speed track. It's known as one of the power circuits of the calendar, with a lot of straights. As a result, you should expect to see cars with high engine power, such as Valiant, looking very good. So look out for the GSR VBM cars and the others that use Valiant engines. Quasar, of course, a lot of engine boost, although engine boost tends to be better for the torque out of the corners, and there aren't that many slow corners here apart from maybe La Source and the bus stop. So I think power is probably going to be more important here. And still Reventon, the only team that is spec'd into reducing the engine mass as well, which should help them in the corners. Let's take a look at how the championship stands currently. It's currently Yannick Bloch leading us on 157 points, 28 ahead of Stefan Rose. That's more than a win's worth now. Yannick Bloch, who didn't do that well in France last time out, finished P5, but that was still ahead of his nearest three championship rivals, gaining some points and starting to get away. Royal, of course, second, and he's followed by Jene Simonchurch, Leon Bock, Colin Spork. Interestingly, none of the top six in the championship that you see there, with Fabrizio Gobbi in 6th place, finished on the podium last time out. Maciej Winnick was, though. Winnick was second, Giuseppe Ragusa was actually disqualified after the race. Lauren Keersmaker's won his first race of the season, and his first race in something like 15 years, which was absolutely incredible to see. And Adam Maguire, of course, hasn't attended a Super League round since India. Here are the team's standings. We've got Evolution still well and truly number one with the 2 bucks. Then it's Holland Racing Team, Edge Esports, GSR, VBM, and then Burst. And that's how the team's championship stands. Since qualifying hasn't yet started properly, we can take a quick look at the calendar for this championship. Of course, we're here at Spa today, and you see all of the names of the drivers who have won races there. The 2 in a row for Yannick Bock. Of course, Bock won in Germany as well. 3 in a row for Simonchurch in the mid-season, but he hasn't had so much luck in the last 2 races. And then after this round, of course, we'll be heading to Monza, Singapore, Suzuka, Austin, and Sao Paulo. With Monza being in 4 weeks, there's going to be a bit of a break after this, which is quite sad, actually, because I'm actually going to be missing the next round at Monza due to being on holiday. But anyway, we're going to be looking forward to seeing the results from that round. Qualifying is about to start now. We have 15 minutes of it ahead of the Grand Prix here at Spa. And the drivers are just heading out to the exit of the pit lane. I think Yanni Simonchurch is going to be the first car out here. He is lining up at the end of the pit lane, waiting for the green light. And there's a long outlap here because, of course, this is the longest circuit on the calendar. So it's going to be a little while before he can start setting some times. But let's watch him as he goes around here, because you can see the historic features of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Here's the famous Eau Rouge Radiant complex. Whichever corner you call Eau Rouge and which you call Radiant is irrelevant. Just call it Eau Rouge Radiant, and it saves a lot of outdated memes. Then we head into Le Camp, which is the chicane, the three-pronged chicane, which is quite difficult. You often dip wheels in the gravel on the exit. There's Bruxelles, the hairpin, and then down into Speaker's Corner, also known as X Corner, and also known as No Name, which is completely outdated now since it has 2 names. Into Pour, and Pour is possibly the most difficult corner on the circuit. I personally think the bus stop is more difficult, but Pour can be quite dangerous. Into Fagnes, right, and then left. Oh, and it's just got very dark on track. I wonder if there's rain due, maybe. That would spice things up, wouldn't it? That would put Yanni in a very good position where he'd be the first driver to start his lap, and therefore the only driver to set it on a properly dry track. Out towards Blanchimont. This is one of the flat-out corners of the circuit. Didn't used to be flat out, obviously, but nowadays the cars have so much grip and downforce. And now into the bus stop, the corner that I think is the most difficult, or the chicane that I think is the most difficult part of the circuit, because putting the power down there without spinning the car around is pretty much, well, it's not impossible, obviously, because Yanni just did it, but it's certainly tricky, because the weight is moving all around the car. And it's difficult. Anyway, onto a flying lap goes Yanni Simonchurch, currently very high up in the championship, P3. Probably would be higher without his retirement in Azerbaijan and his non-point scoring finishes in China and Germany. But one of the fastest drivers we have here at GPVWC Super League. And of course, a Formula Sim Racing champion as well. Let's watch him through Bruxelles, out towards Speaker, and then Pour once again. We're looking for laps in the mid 140s, I expect. That tends to be what you look for at Spa-Francorchamps in the fastest cars anyway. Actually, looking at the practice times, looks like we're looking for low 140s. 140.2 is the fastest hot lap on the leaderboard, set by Colin Spork. But I'm talking of Spork, actually, he's now fastest in the second sector. But let's keep watching Simonchurch as he flies around this circuit. because he... No, never mind, Spork is actually a little way off Simoncic, so Simoncic fastest in the second sector. Currently Riot Kilk fastest in the first. Out of the final corner comes Yerny Simoncic, heading up to the line. And he goes first. Well done to Yerny Simoncic. Now, he actually wasn't the first driver to set a lap there. A couple of drivers beat him to it. I was a little thrown off by the fact that this is private qualifying, meaning that these drivers cannot see any other drivers or interact with any other drivers on the circuit. And that's why I thought that Yerny had a completely clear track ahead of him, because he did, but that didn't mean that he was the first to set a lap. Here's Robin Panzer, who was briefly fast in the first sector. That's now been beaten by someone, but Panzer comes across the line, and he now goes P7. Very good lap, P7. Merculicini, one of the few drivers yet to set a lap here. Still also waiting for laps for Daniel Stupkowski, Christian Pascal, Max Lister, and Giuseppe Ragusa. If you don't recognise the name Max Lister, that's okay, I don't either. He's jumping into the Cenobite car today alongside Isaac Clark, so an all-new lineup for Cenobite today. Merculicini, P20 at present. Let's take a look at Max Lister, P23, so still a little bit of time to gain for Max Lister. He's over a second off anyone else at this point in time. Now, I'm going to check actually to see if there's... to see if Isaac Clark or Max Lister have done Superleague Lights this season. Because, as I said, I don't recognise their names. Apparently they have... They have not. Okay, anyway. Moritz Kropp heading up through into the pits, never mind. You often see that after the first few runs of the session, everyone kind of heads back into the pits, and there's a period of relative silence as the track becomes very, very empty and drivers start setting up for their second flying runs. They tend to do a start, middle, and end here at Spa. You go out for one banker lap, then you go out in the middle, mainly just to make sure that if you mess up your last lap, it's not the end of the world. And then, of course, you get your final flying laps in the final 3 or 4 minutes of the session. And those are the ones that tend to set the grid. The 2 laps before are just a kind of safety net in case you mess up your final flying run, which is very possible, of course. So, through Bruxelles, Riot Kilk, he is currently on an outlap, so he looks like he's pushing pretty hard. Of course, may just be trying to get some heat into those tyres. Needs to make sure he doesn't wear them out before his lap. Anyway. Out through Pool, and there's Christian Pascal. Now this is a lap for Christian Pascal, because he is has not set a flying lap just yet, so he's slightly out of sync with these other drivers. Just seeing news that there are no grid penalties for this round, according to the race director Chris Williamson. So everyone who takes part in this race will be starting from where they finish in qualifying, providing, of course, they don't elect to start from the pit lane, although very few drivers actually will, if any. Up towards the Blanchimont corner. Let's see what his sector times are comparative to. A little way down in the first sector. His second sector time was a lot better, actually. I'm expecting this to put him maybe 14th or 15th. Let's see as he crosses the line. It's actually nowhere near as good as I thought it was. P22 for Christian Pascal currently. Giuseppe Ragusa is the only driver yet to set a flying lap, and that's what we're watching right now. Now on the screen you're seeing right there, it says that he's got the fastest first sector of all. Now according to my live timing, that's not true. That's currently, in fact, it's just been set by Yannick Bock. So Yannick Bock has just started a flyer. Let's watch the end of Giuseppe Oh, and Maciej Winnick now setting a fastest first sector of all. So it looks like Bock and Winnick are going for the top times currently. Ragusa through the final chicane though, the bus stop, which isn't really a bus stop formation anymore. And that's P14, so dropped off a little in the later sectors. Colin Spork now fastest in the second sector. Here's Dan Brewer, who is also improving on his best in the first sector, heading towards the second sector timing beam. And that's also a personal best. Whoa, big slide for Spork! And it looks as if that's going to be a couple of tenths onto his lap. And he does not improve. Well, that would have been pole position or a provisional pole. I have pretty much no doubt about it. And an improvement there coming in from David Fiduk. He goes up to P4. And Dan Brewer goes up to P7 as we watch. Where's Maciej Winnick? He's coming out the final corner now. And across the line. And goes P4. So an improvement from Winnick there. Although seemed to have made a little mistake in the second sector. Jenny Simoncic's last lap was insane. It's a 1:39.944. That is probably the fastest lap that I've ever seen at Spa-Francorchamps in anything. I mean, that is stunning. I remember the days where 1:45s were almost unattainable at Spa-Francorchamps, and we're now into the 1:39s. Just shows you the speed of race cars nowadays. That is amazing stuff from Jenny Simoncic there. Here's Fabrizio Gobbi, double winner of Superleague races, out of the final corner for another lap and goes P9. So that's a more Gobbi-like performance there. He was a little way further down than he would have expected before. And here's Colin Spork preparing to come into the pits, I expect, because that looks like a looks like a slower lap. So Spork will be setting up for one final flying run here. Is that a new livery for the Edge Esports team? Yes, it is. Edge Esports looking a lot more grey and gold than expected. I wonder what that's for. I haven't heard anything about that, but it's both of the Edge Esports cars. Belgian team. Okay, so that's so this is their home race. Of course, it's Andreas Rutes who runs that team, right? So yeah, Belgian team, and that is their home livery. Should have figured it out from the color scheme, shouldn't I? Anyway, here's Max Lister, currently P26 in the Cenobite. A lot of time to be gained for him. Marco Furlich letting me know sectors on the overlay are compared to the guy in P1, not the overall best. Gotcha. So that's why the purple sectors on screen are slightly misleading. Lister's lap was not perfect. It was a 1:43, so it was a slight improvement, but he's still over a second off the rest of the pack. And actually the Cenobites last and second to last currently. They are the least developed car, of course, although they do appear to be a little further off than you'd expect today. But as I said, an all-new lineup for Clark and Lister today. And those are... I'm pretty sure I do recognize the name Isaac Clark, but I honestly don't know where from. Anyway. So here's Yanni Simoncic. Is this an... Oh, sorry, Yannick Bock. This looks like it might be an outlap for him, but that's okay, because he's just setting up for his final flying run. We're getting into the really important part of the session now. This is the bit where the cars are going to start absolutely gunning for it. Not sure this is an outlap for Yannick, because it's being timed. Robin Pansar here up on the leader's best. And that shouldn't be a purple sector time, although it is a very fast one nonetheless. Here we go, out towards the end part of this particular lap. The second sector timing beam is coming up very shortly, so we'll see what his time is through there. It's another good one. Another very good one, actually. He is he's currently tied for 10th with Stefan Roll in this session, exactly the same lap as Stefan. But I expect he's going to go into the top 5 with this lap potentially. It's maybe 2 or 3 tenths faster than he's done previously. Here he comes up to the line. Goes P5. Thought so. That's about right. Expected him. And that means that we now have both of the bursts in the top 5 in this session. Michael Lucchini, P23 at present. Not looking to take much time out of that as we look. Across the line and goes P18, so does move into the top 20. And gained a couple of tenths in the last 2 sectors of that lap. Right, now we're looking at the pointy end of the qualifying session. That didn't make any sense at all, but you know what I mean. This is the really important bit. As drivers set up for their final flying runs. Spork, Simoncic, Bock, Winnick and Panzer are the top 5 at present. Not in that order though. Simoncic, of course, leading by 3 tenths of a second, almost 4 tenths of a second. Not sure if anyone can beat that, because that lap time that we saw from him is utterly very, very impressive. Tomasz Walk now improving in the first sector, P8. Here's Simoncic heading for his final flying lap. As we cut away to watch Tomasz Walk rocketing through the Pouhon curves in his powered by RSR car. Tomasz Walk currently P8. Doesn't look to be a contender for pole, but he is improving. Now I'll keep an eye on the first sector times for all of the drivers at the pointy end of the field. Maciej Winnick is fastest of anyone in the first sector. Could this be a challenge for pole for Maciej Winnick now? I'm sure we will cut away to take a look at that once Tomasz Walk has finished his lap. Colin Sporks is about a tenth of a second off Maciej's in the first sector, but it's still an improvement from Colin. Simoncic is faster than Spork as well. Now here comes Winnick, fastest of anyone at the minute. Looks to be about to make the biggest improvement in this session. Out through Campus, Kerber-Pulfra. Pretty good second sector, but it's nowhere near as fast as we've seen, so I'm not sure he will be a pole contender here, but he's possibly going to be in the top 3. Dan Brewer's second sector was about 4 tenths faster than Winnick's there, so that's where he's losing all the time. Leon Bock goes 3rd. Let's see what Winnick does. Across the line, and he goes 2nd. Simoncic is now second, fastest of anyone in the second sector, but here comes Yannick Bock. Possibly going to improve on his time, not by much, I'm afraid. Colin Spork now goes 2nd. And Box is 3rd. Here's Simoncic. Surely this is going to blast everyone out of the park here. Across the line. And it does. 1:39.875. And I'm confident that that is the pole position time there from Jani Simoncic. One of the fastest laps that I've ever seen at Spa-Francorchamps. And that is a very deserved pole position there for Jani Simoncic. Fantastic stuff. 0.193 ahead of Colin Spork at the end. Here comes Tomasz Walk. He's lifted off on his lap, and that means that everyone has now finished. Everyone who can finish a lap has finished a lap. So Jani Simoncic on pole, and Colin Spork will be alongside him on the grid. There you see the finishing order. It's going to be Simoncic followed by Spork, Bock, Winnick. And then the other Bock, Leon that is, David Fidok, Robin Panzer, Daniel Brewer, Matteo Keersmakers, and Tomasz Walk, the top 10. And it's Matthias Moos, also registered as 10th place because the quali results don't tend to like being shown. And it's Fabrizio Gobbi, Daniel Stopkowski, Stefan Ruel, Florian Gaia, Rayek Kilk, Giuseppe Ragusa, Mirko Lucchini, Germano Zappala, Matthew Williams, the top 20. And then Jeffrey Fournier, Federico Rosso, Christian Pascal, Moritz Kropp, Isaac Clark, and Max Lister, so the Cenobites rounding out the field. A very exciting session there. and a very well-deserved pole position time for Yanni Simonchich. I'm going to look up the Formula One pole position time from Spa, actually, because I want to see how that relates to that. But anyway, Spa-Francorchamps lap record. Apparently, the race lap record was a 1:45.1 from Raikkonen in 2004, but of course that is that's always going to be nowhere near what we see in qualifying. Wow, Lewis Hamilton 2020 pole time only a 1:41.252. Goodness me. So these cars are over a second faster than the F1 cars here. And as a result, these are indeed the fastest laps that I've ever seen at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Well, a very well-deserved pole time for Yanni Simonchich, and we're going to go for a quick break now for a couple of minutes, but we will be back in time for the start of the race, so don't you go anywhere. Be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps for the Superleague race. This is round 11, of course, of the 16-round series. You see that on the commentators tab there, it says that Jake Sanson is supposed to be here alongside me. I am, of course, Caitlin Penny. Jake is currently caught at an airport, so he is not going to be here unless he can join very, very late, but unfortunately it looks as if it's just going to be me today, but that is okay. And of course, the cameras in the stream that you're seeing right now are provided by Tom Stevens. And Tom was just telling me a few seconds ago that he is expecting 2 stops for today's race, because they were doing 1 stops in the Super League lights, but only just. So with the extra race length that we see here at Super League, expect to see a second stop, and that means you're probably going to be seeing either 2 stints on mediums and 1 on soft. Or if drivers are feeling really risky, I suppose, 2 stints on soft and 1 on mediums. But anyway, we'll see that once the race actually begins. Of course, if they're feeling really overtakey, they could even do 3 stints on softs and 1 on mediums, making it a 3-stop race. But anyway, we shall soon see. 44 laps here, meaning the pit windows aren't going to be particularly wide. We should see the pit lane getting very, very busy at certain points in the race, as drivers know that going 1 more lap would cost them more time than pitting, half a lap early maybe. So that's what you should expect to see. Just a reminder, if you missed qualifying, Joni Simoncic is on pole position. He got into the 1:39s, which is one of the fastest, probably the fastest lap that I've ever seen at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And one of the fastest laps that is possible with the machinery that we have on this planet at the minute. And of course, Colin Spork will be alongside him, starting from P2. Colin, one of the most exciting young racers who I've followed since his very first Superleague lights outing, and he just seems to be an absolute natural behind the wheel. Spa is one of the most difficult circuits of the series. You got a few flat out or very fast corners that try to catch you out when you're least expecting it. Rouge Radion, of course, can be very dangerous if something goes wrong in there. Colin Spork actually crashed there last year in the Super League Lights race. Sorry to remind him of that, but it was quite a spectacular one. Of course, Poul, another corner where you really don't want anything to go wrong. Blanchimont has had some very famous big accidents over the years. Although Blanchimont doesn't tend to be as difficult because it is relatively easy flat these days. I was telling you earlier how the lower speed corners are the really difficult ones, like La Source and the bus stop, because the weight goes all sorts of weird directions, and you don't really know how to put the power down without causing the rear end to step out. But that's what these drivers would have been setting up for. And then, of course, you have the medium speed corners as well. Speakers or X is an underrated corner because that one is quite heavily downhill. And as a result, gravity is not working in your favor as you turn in. And I'm expecting to see a few drivers running wide and kicking up the grass through there at various points today. Anyway, just a few seconds now until we can get underway for the formation lap for this race. So the drivers are heading out to the grid. It's going to be a very, very exciting one, and I'm very much looking forward to this. We can take a look at the starting order once the drivers pull away, although it is exactly the same as you saw in qualifying, because of course there have not been any penalties today. Here comes the grid. We've got Joni Simoncic on pole position alongside Colin Spork, whose car looks different to what you see there due to the Belgian team's home livery. Yannick Bock is third, followed by Mathieu Winnick in the other Edge Esports car. Then it is Leon Bock, David Feiduk, Robin Pansar, and Daniel Brewer. And then following them is going to be Matteo Kiersmakers, Thomas Vogt, Matthias Moos, and Fabrizio Gobbi. And then we have Daniel Stepkowski, followed by Stefan Rohr, Florian Geyer, and Riot Kilk. Points going down to P15, so Kilk just missing out on that if they were to finish in this order. Then it's Giuseppe Ragusa, Mirko Lucchini, Germano Zappala, and Matthew Williams rounding out the top 20, but we still have 6 more drivers to rattle off. Jeffrey Fournier, long way down for him actually. Federico Rosso, Christian Pascal, and Moritz Kropp. And then of course the back of the grid is an all Cenobite affair with Isaac Clarke and Max Lister, I'm afraid to say. Now Max Lister apparently has got a new rig for today, and his brake pedal feels very, very different to what he's used to. And that may explain why he was struggling for performance in qualifying. But this race, of course, will give him plenty of opportunity to settle in and get used to that. So expect him to be a lot faster by the end of the race. Although it may be a bit of a test session for the Cenobite cars today, judging by their starting positions, I'm afraid to say. Anyway, up to the grid we head. Just a few corners left on this lap. Joni Simoncic taking it very, very steadily on this formation lap. No one really warming their tyres. Maybe a bit more worried about tyre wear than tyre coldness. But also Simoncic doesn't want to be waiting on the grid for too long. Doesn't want to run away and then have to sit there as the rest of the field catches up. Towards the bus stop we go. Spa-Francorchamps. So many classic races have happened here. My first memory of this circuit was 2008, that ferocious battle between Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Räikkönen, which ended in a win for Felipe Massa, ironically, when Räikkönen crashed and Lewis got a penalty for cutting the corner. And that was probably my favourite Grand Prix to this day, actually. Then, of course, the next year, 2009, you had that start pile-up and Fisichella almost winning the race, Kimi Räikkönen coming through. 2010, Lewis Hamilton winning despite hitting the wall. There have been some wonderful memories here at Spa, and even more recently as well. It continues to throw up some excellent action in both Formula One and GPVWC Superleague, the sim racing counterpart to the real deal. So, the final few cars getting into position now, and we're waiting for the lights. When they go out, we'll be underway for 44 laps of Spa-Francorchamps, the traditional Grand Prix length, with a mandatory pit stop, probably 2. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's a short run down to turn 1 and go! Yanni Simoncic leads away. That looked like a good run from Yannick Bock in 3rd place. Bock's going to be up the inside. Oh, contact between Sport and around! And Bock's lost his rear wing. Now, hopefully he knows he does, because he is going to be all sorts of out of control up towards Radion. But there's been a crash straight away, and Yannick Bock is the victim. He's running up through a rouge without his rear wing, and hopefully isn't about to spin. Yanni Simoncic leads, followed by Colin Spork, and as they head down the straight, they're going to be going side by side out in front. And around the outside goes Spork. Does he make the corner? Yes, he does. Spork's up into the lead. There was slight contact between him and Simoncic. Oh, and who's that off the road? It looked like Robin Panzer. Yes, Robin Panzer's off along with Matthias Moos. Big shame for those two. And Matthias Moos is out of the race. There have been more first lap incidents. Isaac Clark does not have his front wing, so Clark was involved as well. And what an utter shame. The two biggest losers, Yannick Bock, who has to run all the way back to the pits without his rear wing, and Matthias Moos, who is well and truly out of this race. Sport leads, followed by Simoncic, then Leon Bock, Maciej Winnick, and Daniel Brewer. Could this be Leon Bock's chance, actually? He's often been in the shadow of his brother's brilliance. But now, of course, that this has happened, could it be his time to shine and to deliver results for that team anyway? Robin Panzer does still have his wings, incidentally, but he is a long way behind the pack. Here's Fabrizio Gobbi, looking all over the back of David Feidek, running wide and towards the bus stop, and gets his nose alongside, and into the pits comes Feidek. Now that's interesting because he still has both his wings. I expect this must be a jump start penalty, surely, because I don't see any other reason why he'd be in. And that's going to be a 10-second stop go. Well, that's got to be time consuming for David Feidek. No, it's not. It's a regular pit stop. So David has decided to come in, get himself out of traffic, go onto medium tires, and presumably run a long stint. That's an odd strategy there from David, but if it ends up working, that'll be genius. Okay, so Feidek exits the pits, and it wasn't a jump start penalty after all. Anyway, back to the action. Here's Giuseppe Ragusa on the back of Stefan Roll and Matteo Kiersmakers. The pack is a little more spread out than you'd expect at this early stage in the race due to the various incidents. The top 3 have got away. There's a bit of a gap between Bock and Winnick there. And then there are some more gaps further down as well, where accidents have taken people out of the running. Of course, into the pits at the end of the last lap came, as well as Feidek, you also had Yannick Bock and Isaac Clark to repair their various damages. And they're both out on the road again, both on medium tyres, so we'll be running long stints on those. In fact, talking of tyres, did anyone actually start on the medium tyres? I should have checked that. I think the top driver on mediums at the minute is Matthew Williams, who's running in P16. Here's Leon Bock. This is 3rd place, the battle for the first, of course. You see all 3 of the top 3 up there, and we're now on lap 3 of the race, meaning that the DRS is going to be available from this lap on, up towards the slipstreamy portion of the circuit. It's flat out from the exit of La Source all the way up to the entrance of Lacombe. And this is a DRS zone here, a pretty overpowered DRS zone as we saw in the junior categories. Bock is gaining, goes to the inside. Simoncic tried to cover him off. Bock goes through and makes the corner. So Leon Bock is up into P2 and Simoncic drops to third from pole position. Doesn't look as fast in a straight line as his opponents, and that may hinder him over the course of the day. So it's now Spork leading, but he has got away from Leon Bock. 1.5 seconds between the two of them, or 1.4 I think on average, meaning that Bock will no longer have the RS. Simoncic down to third, and then the rest of the field streaming through. Now I'm going to see if I can get up. I'm afraid I don't think we have replays today. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but if we don't, I'm going to have a look back at the first corner on stream to see what happened. Now I'm afraid it looks as if there may have been. I think it may have been Robin Panzer who went into the back of Yannick Bock and cost him his rear wing. And that was no fault of Bock's there. Looks as if Panzer was slightly caught up by the way the field kind of came together. And then, of course, he and Matthias Moos locked wheels and went off the road a few corners later. So, drama in the early stages here involving some of the biggest names in this series. And that is why we have the order as it is now. Now, Leon Bock just set the first lap of the race so far in his attempt to get back onto the tail, back into the DRS range of Colin Spork, and to get away from Yerny Simoncic behind. And it looks as if they're going to stay in the same order onto the straight. People who are going to probably change around a bit here is this fight that we're looking at between Riot Kilt. He's on the back of Jumane Zapala, and he's going 3 wide with 48. Whoa, that was close. And Kilt going to be forced off the road. Oh no, and it's Zapala who's in the wall. So Zapala comes off worse, and he's lost his front wing. So another bit of uncalled for contact there. Jumane Zapala is going to drop right to the back of the field here. Big shame. Okay, here's Yerny Simoncic trying to stick with Yannick Bock, but it's looking difficult actually. He doesn't appear to have the pace of his opponents in the early stages of this race. Still getting away from Winnick and Brewer behind, but even so, not quite as fast as he would like. Although it is very much not all over for Yerny Simoncic yet. We have a long way to go in this race. 40 laps, and at Spa-Francorchamps, that is a very long distance. And with pit stops and potential backmarkers and all of that coming up later on, then it is by no means over. Of course, we are going to have fewer backmarkers to lap at this circuit due to the fact it is the longest circuit on the calendar. But even so, it can play a part. On to lap 5 of the race now. Yerny Simoncic still in DRS range of Bock, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near close enough to challenge any time soon, I'm afraid to say. Here's Dan Brewer. He is a lot closer to the back of Maciej Winnick up ahead of him. And as they get into the DRS range, there may... Well, I don't think he's going to go for a move here, but he's getting very close. Had to lift off slightly early there to not run into the back of Maciej Winnick. Oh, and he's had a twitch. He's had a big twitch in the extra flacon there, and did well to keep it out of the gravel. And side by side are Christian Pascal, whoa, and Federico Rosso there over 17th place, just outside of the points paying positions. Jumane Zapala, I'm afraid, is now out of this race. He, of course, we saw him losing his rear wing, and he's now decided that enough is enough. So 24 of our 26 starters are still running in this race, and by no means in the order that they started in. Here's Matteo Keersmakers, I think probably brother to Laurent Keersmakers, and Laurent is not here today. That's a shame. Of course, Laurent won his first GPVWC Super League race in many years. Last time out at Mangy Court, but doesn't appear to have been able to make it today. and will probably be dropping down the championship standings as a result of that, I'm afraid to say. Matteo Gearsmaker's the younger of the two. Now up the hill once again. He's got his teammate Stefan Roll on his tail. Roll, a very competitive driver, former champion of the Super Cup, where he fought with Maciej Winnick for the championship. In the same team, that went right down to the final round at Abu Dhabi, 2018 that was. And it was one of the best championship fights I've ever seen Stefan Ruhl in. Simoncic still sticking with Leon Buck, but nowhere near in contention to pass. But he is staking with him. And that's exactly what he needs to do in order to give himself the best possible opportunity for the pit stops later on. So out through Curva Pool Frere, up towards the Blanchimont. Behind him, of course, we still have battles between Winnick and Brewer, with Thomas Falk following them closely. Falk's under pressure from Gobby, Gearsmakers, and potentially Raw as well. And although I said that they've spread out a bit more than usual in the early stages, which they did, it's still not a properly spread out field here. There are definitely opportunities for things to happen here. Here's Geoffrey Fournier, currently running in P14, chasing Riot Kilk. Geoffrey is a driver who likes to overtake very, very much, and probably would have set his car up accordingly. He'll probably have quite low drag, low downforce. Out of the race, I'm afraid, is Isaac Clark in his first Super League outing. So I'm afraid we've lost one of the Cenobites already. 23 drivers now running in this race, and we have the bizarre situation where Yannick Bock is running last. Oh, here's Kilk running around the outside of Florian Gaia. And Fournier trying to get involved. That was very brave. And it looks as if Kilk's made it stick around the outside. P12 now for Riot Kilk. Expert stuff here in Super League. 7 laps already done. Oh, sorry, we're on lap 7, so it's 6 laps already done. By the way, the gap for the lead has not changed basically whatsoever, because after Bock set his fastest lap of the race, Colin Spork started to retaliate and started to set quicker laps himself, and the gap stayed about 1.5 to 2 seconds, which it has been pretty much ever since Leon Bock passed Jani Simoncic. I will keep an eye on that though, to see if anything changes, but really, it looks as if the top 3 are relatively stable at this point in time. Of course, there's still tension there, and things are probably still going to change before the end of the race. But until the first pit stop happens, I'm expecting them to stay in the same order, with the gaps relatively stagnant. Further behind though, who knows? We got so many battles in the top 15 at this stage that anything could happen up before the first pit stop. First pit window, of course. We've already had pit stops for damage, I'm afraid to say. Quite a few of them. So the race continues. Not sure how David Fiduk's behind Max Lister, because of course Fiduk and Lister both pitted at the end of the first lap, but Lister didn't have a front wing. Wait, no, he did, didn't he? Sorry, I'm getting him confused with Isaac Clark. Well, that makes a lot more sense. My apologies. Fiduk's now past Lister for P21 on a very, very alternate strategy, it must be said. Battle of the 4th, Winnick, Brewer, Vach, Gobby and Gearsmakers. That's what we like to see, 5 cars involved over 1 position. Very much disputed territory at this point in the race. And we're getting up to the point where I'd expect to start seeing the first few pit stops. especially for drivers who may have had spins or mistakes in the early stages of the race, or drivers who are getting very, very held up by the cars in front of them. For example, Thomas Vogt. But anyway. Up towards Raniel once again. And then there's another overtaking opportunity, but these cars slightly too far apart potentially. We'll keep an eye on it just in case. Actually, no, we won't, because look how close Simoncic is to Buck. Simoncic going to the left-hand side. And he's proven me wrong. Wow, so Simoncic does retake second. I thought he was going to wait until the first pit stage, but maybe did Buck make a mistake out of La Source or something like that? Well, whatever the case, Simoncic has got up to second. Sorry, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, they'd stayed in... the gap had been about the same for the last few laps up until that point, and Simoncic didn't appear to have the straight line speed to pass Leon, but obviously he's proven me wrong. So yeah, up to P2, the gap for the lead till about 2 seconds. They really didn't lose that much time by overtaking that. And that, of course... Oh, and the track's looking a lot brighter now. That's good to see. It never rained, of course, but there was a lot of cloud cover, and suddenly that all appears to have cleared. And that reminds me, actually, I should probably turn the light on in my room before it gets so dark that it starts hurting my eyes. I'll take about a 2-second break for that, and I'll dash straight back. So, BRB. And I am back. Look at that, no time at all. Anyway, Simoncic just set the first lap of the race, and I'm not really surprised by that, because he didn't lose any time by passing Leon. He just gained it with the DRS, with the slipstream, and with not having Leon ahead of him in the final sector. So let's see if he can keep that momentum up and continue to catch Colin over the next few laps. His last lap was half a second quicker. Here's Brewer alongside Winnick for P4. He's on the outside, but that's going to turn into the inside. Such is the beauty of chicanes, they touch. Whoa, they were lucky not to properly come together there. Because they locked wheels and everything. That's the worst kind of contact you can have in an open wheeler. And they are very lucky that Winnick didn't spin across Brewer's front, or they didn't get locked together. Wow. So somehow they've got away with that. Matching Winnick still P4, Daniel Brewer still P5, with a lot of time down the drain, I'd expect. Well, actually, not that much, but definitely some, because they would have been holding each other up well side by side in the chicane. Wow. And that's allowed Thomas Vogt and Fabrizio Gobi. In fact, we have a long slipstream, a long DRS chain from Winnick to Brewer to Vogt, then Gobi, Kiers Makers, Ruhr, and very nearly Ragusa as well. So, I mean, something like a 6-way fight for P4 at this point in time. It's like a trolley train, if you remember those. Back in about 2005 or something, Trelli used to qualify on very low fuel and then lead the cars away from qualifying and just hold everyone up until the pit stages. But anyway, Jeffrey Fournier has just made a pit stop, so I'm expecting the pit stages to start soon for the leaders. Here's Thomas Vogt on the outside of Dan Brewer. Oh, and Brewer comes back at him in the braking zone. Wow! I thought Vogt had got more than enough alongside Brewer there. He'd got ahead, but Brewer was not going to give that one up. That was so brave there. And I would have forgiven Vogt for just turning in. But anyway, Dan Brewer, great defense, keeps P5. Here's David Feiduck getting past Jeffrey Fournier. Fournier's just pitted, of course, so that would have happened on pit exit. That does put Feiduck in a decent position in this race so far. He'll be in the points when it all shuffles out, but before he came in, he was something like P7 or P8. Still has a lot to prove with that strategy there, but we'll see. Anyway, up towards Blanchemont, and I would be very surprised if none of this group comes into the pits this time around. Oh, relatively slow out of Blanchemont though. It's Dan Brewer. Takes a look to the left-hand side. Brewer knows he's got to defend and comes into the pits. Now, I'm really not surprised by that because he was all sorts of out of shape and didn't want to keep defending that position. So Dan Brewer comes into the pits. He'll probably go on to mediums now, and this will be an easy 2-stop. Looks like he's got the last possible pit box. And there's his medium tyres. The yellow ringed tyre wall is probably the hardest compound you'll see today. I'm not sure we're expecting any C1s or hard tyres, but anyway, keep an eye out. And he exits P16, so a couple of seconds up the road, about 6 seconds up the road in fact, from 48 and Fidek. And there's Williams and Lucchini having a little scrap. Meanwhile, I was talking about how Simoncic was faster than Spork. He's kept that up, you know. His last lap was about 0.2 quicker, but the lap before was even faster. Because, well, there you see the gap. It looks as if he's about to break into DRS range if Spork's not careful here. So Simoncic took a while to get going in this race, dropped back in the early stages, but now all of a sudden he's got the bit between his teeth. And he's cutting through the air like a hot knife through butter. Into the braking zone. Wide goes Spork, and he's into the pits. That was a big mistake from Spork. I wonder if that was an unforced pit stop, maybe. Whether he wasn't quite expecting to come in. He would have had it selected, but maybe he was just making his mind up as to whether he wanted to come in or not. Also, looks like Fabrizio Gobbi's in, and Thomas Vogt, and Matteo Kiersmakers. And as I said, the pit lane is about to get very, very busy. But this is important because Spork, of course, is now on the harder compound of tyre, and it's cold. Simoncic is on older tyres, of course, but they are soft and warm. So is that going to outweigh the advantage that Spork's going to get from the new tyres? I think it might actually, because look, he's got Matthew Williams right in front of him too. And we know that Simoncic was catching Spork in the last few laps before. Up ahead, Stepkovski's just got past Ragusa, but let's look at Spork getting past Williams. Okay, that wouldn't have cost him any time at all. That would have actually helped him a little, I think. Much like how we saw Simoncic set his first lap on the race while overtaking someone in that manner. But I'd be a little worried if I was Colin Spork right now. He's got to absolutely fly on this outlap here. And vice versa, Yanni Simoncic has got to absolutely fly on this in-lap here. This is tense stuff here at Spa-Francorchamps. Who's going to come out ahead, Spork or Simoncic? Whoever it is will have the advantage in this race. Here is Yanni Simoncic. Will probably pit this lap. He's got to react to Spork. If he stays out too long, then Spork's going to be long gone. Into the bus stop. And into the pits, just as expected. And this will be mediums. Unless he wants to make sure that he can fight Spork when he comes out, in which case he'll go for another set of softs. That may actually be a pretty sneaky strategy decision. Meanwhile, Buck, Winnick, Rohr, Stepkowski, wow, the top 6 are in the pits. And it's mediums for Simoncic. Out he goes. Where is Colin Spork? Spork's around the outside. They're going to come out neck and neck. Look at this. And Spork does hold the lead, but Simoncic is going to have the slipstream and the DRS. Let's see if they're still in the same positions by the end of the straight. Simoncic has the overspeed. He's gaining. DRS time. It's open. He's on the inside. The door's been left wide open, but it's not going to matter because he's going to have it before the corner. Simoncic retakes the lead and makes the turn. Simoncic leads the race just as he did off the starting line. Colin Spork is P2. And that was all as a result of the mistake that Spork made just before coming into the pits there. If he hadn't made that mistake, he would have had the pace to keep the lead of the race. And yes, Simoncic would be on his tail straight away, and there would be a titanic battle for the lead. But now Simoncic has the advantage, and that is not what Colin Spork wanted. Great racing between the two of them. And I'm very glad to see they kept it clean into La Source that time, into Lacombe rather. Well, let's keep an eye on this this scrap, see if the gap comes back down, see if Spork can have another swipe at Simoncic, or whether Simoncic will start getting away. It's going to be difficult because Spork, of course, will have the DRS, but Simoncic does appear to be the faster car at this point in the race. Spork's gaining with the slipstream. You see how important the slipstream is there, how much he's gaining into the bus stop. Meanwhile, further back, it looks like Buck and Williams are side by side. Whoa, and Buck just got up the inside and took that place away. So Leon Buck back into P3. Now Williams, remember, was the top driver to start on the medium tyres. So he will be running long in this race, and it will be a little while before we see him coming into the pits. So in the effective order, it's going to be Simoncic, Spork, Buck, Brewer. Did Pascal start on mediums? I think he did actually, so both the MDRs starting on mediums. And then Mathieu Winnick is going to be effectively P5 in the order, I think. Winnick gaining on Pascal, let's see if he can get through this time. Nope, not quite close enough. This will be costing him a little bit of time in the race. So if you keep an eye on Winnick and this bunch, I'll keep an eye on the leaders and shout if anything happens, and then we can take a look. But anyway, it's one of those races where you wish you had two eyes. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. Wish you had two camera screens, that's what I meant. You do have two eyes, hopefully. Anyway, getting a little carried away. Here are the leaders once again, Simoncic and Spork. And they are close once again towards the end of another lap of racing. Fastest lap, meanwhile, has just been set by Geoffrey Fournier last time around. Fournier is right on the back of Matteo Kiersmakers here. But look how close the leaders are out of La Source. This is an important acceleration zone. And you see how Simoncic immediately moves over to the other side of the track, not wanting to give Spork any slipstream whatsoever. Now I expect Spork's going to be slightly faster in the straight line here. Not sure if it's going to be enough. DRS wide open. Now they're still going to be in this order into the chicane. I thought in the early stage to the right. Oh, and there's been a mistake, and it's Winnick. Winnick's in the wall. He's lost his front wing. Mathieu Winnick is sans his front wing here, and it looks as if that's happened up through Radion. So it looks as if something's gone very wrong up there. Oh, and side by side up ahead, Geoffrey Fournier getting involved with Kiersmakers and Raw right in between them. And now look at Stepkovsky around the outside. Look at that. Stepkovsky finds the traction, does he? They're still side by side through X, and no, it looks as if Fournier is gonna, Royal's gonna find the traction. That was great stuff. I'm afraid though, as I said, Winnick did make a mistake up through Radion and hit the wall, and I didn't see how, but I expect he probably just lost on the exit, Kevin Magnussen style, and went into the inside wall rather than the outside. I'm glad that no one else was involved there, but that is a big shame because Winnick, by my calculations and my reckoning, was on course for a top 5 finish in this race. Back to the battles. This is Christian Pascal versus Tomasz Voch, P7. Voch, though, on a very different strategy here, and this should be relatively easy. Pascal's not going to make it easy for him, though. Pascal should probably pit here, and doesn't. What goes through? Matthew Williams is in the pit though, and that's probably why Pascal didn't pit, because he knew that his teammate was going to be in, and they didn't want to double stack. My apologies. Yannis Simoncic just set the fastest lap of the race and has pulled away from Colin Spork Bork no longer has DRS despite setting his personal best lap, so Simoncic is a lot faster than any other car on the track at this point in time. This is the Yerny Simoncic that we're used to seeing. Keersmaker's now at the inside of Pascal, and going through. Nicely done, and further back, Stepkovsky and Roll come together, they touch, they lock wheels, and they get away with it. And Stepkovsky comes out ahead, but that was very close to all ending in tears there. Hopefully it didn't bend their steering or anything. That can often be the worst kind of contact in terms of bending steering arms. And F-Factor does simulate that very well, actually. Not quite realistically, it would be a lot more sensitive in real life, but you definitely do feel it when there's damage to your steering. So, lap 17 out of 44 we're on now. And Stepkovsky once again is lining up Christian Pascal, who isn't giving him any room here. Stepkovsky's going to try a Max Verstappen style move around the outside and makes it stick. Nicely done. That was beautiful from Daniel Stepkovsky there. And now Pascal pits. And Stepkovsky will be thinking, whoa, I risked all that for nothing. But anyway, that'll give him a few tenths of a second extra time, extra advantage. Incidentally, Williams came out P15, so he is still in the points there. Pascal's dropped outside of the points, as did David Feiduk and as has Moritz Kropp. Still slightly confused as to why Feiduk went for that alternate strategy, but I guess if you don't try it, then you don't succeed with it. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, you know what I mean. He felt it was a risk worth taking, and there's still a long way to go in this race, so maybe he knows something that I don't. So let's take a look at where the scraps are at this point. We've got Bork, of course, right in front of Keersmakers, and that's going to be for position as well. Actually, Keersmakers lost a little bit of time in that last sector there. We've got Stepkovsky right in front of Rural, and Ragusa right behind both of them, and that's what we're looking at right now for P8, 9, and 10. Right, Kilk very nearly getting DRS off Ragusa as well, so Ragusa not yet in clean air by any means. Pansar and Williams are close for P14, and of course Williams is going to have the advantage, having only just pitted, and also being on... No, he's also on another set of mediums. I was going to say softer tyres, but he's not. And then there are a few little fights outside of the top 15 as well, although not over points-paying positions at this point in time. Still 23 of our 26 starters remaining in this race. And there is Stefan Rohr. I'm expecting Williams to be able to pass Panzer in the straight here. That's over P14. Of course, very different strategy, so this isn't hugely important in the race, but it'll be important for Williams to get through relatively quickly in his attempt to get into the top 10 in the effective order. It was still side by side slightly in the braking zone, but that was a relatively easy one from Matthew Williams, who gets P14 in the race. And on his alternate strategy, it's still a little uncertain where he's going to finish this race, but I'm expecting it to be maybe around P10. Might just miss out on that. Or he might do better if that strategy ends up working out very well. He will get the softer tyres for the final few laps of this race, which will allow him to push, allow him to overtake. But how many overtakes, of course, will be the question. Now, the reason the soft-medium strategy is popular rather than the medium-soft strategy is because if you qualify on the softer tyre, it's faster, and you have to start on the soft if you qualify in the top 10. So if you qualify in the top 10 and you've qualified on soft tyres, then you start on the soft tyres as well. Of course, if you qualify in the top 10 and start on mediums, then you've got a major strategical advantage, but that's very difficult to do. You have to be so confident in your abilities to do that. And the only person who I've seen doing that so far this year has been Chris Butcher in the Super Cup series. But anyway. And then of course, drivers who start around P11, P12 tend to start on mediums because they are the top drivers on the alternate strategy, and doing something different can give them an advantage. Looks like there's a move going on further down here. This is Christian Pascal versus Jeffrey Fournier over P18. Fournier on the outside. That's risky. Oh, and they do touch slightly. And they get away with it. Christian Pascal P18, Fournier locking up as he goes all over the back of that MDR car. Mayor Downard Racing team in his Scuderia Basilia Challenger. Here's the battle for 13th. Macalicini ahead of Matthew Williams with Robin Panter a little way down. And you see there, look how high the RPM is there for Matthew Williams. These cars are absolute beasts. And as he brakes, that's going to go right the way down, but still it's higher than your average road car by quite a way. You can imagine the amount of power going through the rear wheels there in any of these gears. A lot of torque too. These are big engines for small cars. Of course, they're some of the biggest single-seater cars ever made, but still very light compared to the road cars you're used to seeing. Here's Williams gaining on Lucchini. Goes up the inside and makes it stick on the straight. Now Williams' race, of course, is going to be all about overtakes, because in the alternate strategy, his challenge is going to clash with other people's. Vidic there, passing Russo for P16. And of course, most of Williams' overtakes are going to come in the final stint when he's on the softer compound of tyre. And that's when he's got to really start gaining ground and gaining positions. It's difficult, of course, because you have to do it on the track rather than... Whoa, big slide for Fournier, gets away with it. That was a little hairy. But yeah. But anyway, that's why the strategy is usually soft medium. It's not because that's the better strategy. It's because that's the one that you're. It's kind of the path of least resistance. You want to qualify highly, so you want to qualify on softs. So you tend to start on softs. But for drivers further down, they have less to lose, and so you often see alternate strategies like starting on the mediums, for example. Is Pascal on the inside. Ooh, that's close. I think they did touch that with Russo. Both green stripes cars being a little bit swamped at this point in the race, and up the inside into La Source. And looks like Fournier is going to follow him through. They rub wheels. That's not a place where you're used to seeing overtakes, because the drivers can get the DRS on the exit, get the overspeed, and go back through on the straight. Let's see if that actually happens this time. Pascal's going to be all sorts of under pressure here from Jeffrey Fournier. Fournier up the inside, almost on the grass there, and makes it stick. Yeah, just so I was expecting. Although Russo is the big loser in that. He's lost both places. Up to P9. Stepkovsky is P8, then it's Rull, and then Ragusa. Ragusa's been doing pretty well these last few laps. He's been gaining since the start. In fact, he's been 10th for pretty much the whole race, so I may be wrong about that. Finished the first lap 10th, then finished the first stint 10th. And now he's 10th once again. But anyway. Not sure he's going to finish 10th because there's a lot that can still happen in these late stages, and he is right on the back of that battle between Stepkowski and Raw. Meanwhile, Colin Spork is setting his personal best laps of the race the last few times around, and was a little bit faster than Simonsich that last time, so not letting him get away. 1.4 seconds is the gap. Let's keep watching this though. Giuseppe Ragusa to the outside of Stefan Raw. This for P9. And they're both very evenly matched on that straight there. They both had DRS from Stepkowski up ahead. And Ragusa will be thinking, curse you. He'll want Stepkowski to get out of the way as quickly as possible. But anyway, Stepkowski is fighting them for position. And it's very obvious that he is, because this is quite a scrap. We're now just over the halfway point in this race, actually. I've completed 22 of the 24 laps. Yoni Simonsich leading, of course, followed by Colin Spork, and then it's Leon Buck, Daniel Brewer, Fabrizio Gobbi, Thomas Schwach, Matteo Kiersmakers. Then this scrap between Daniel Stepkowski, Stefan Rott, and Giuseppe Ragusa. Also in the points are Riot Kilk, Florian Goer, Matthew Williams, Robin Panzer, and Mirko Lucchini, with David Fiduk just missing out the points so far, although on a very alternate strategy, so could still break in. And Maciej Winnick is now retired from the race. Oh, so we saw him hit the wall earlier. We saw him lose his front wing. And I'm afraid he is out of the race now. So too much damage to that car, and that means we have 22 cars remaining in this race. And the 4 retirements so far are Maciej Winnick, Isaac Clark, Germano Zapala, and Matthias Moos. Incidentally, all of the drivers still in the race are on the lead lap still, due to this being such a long circuit. The gap for the lead did come down again that last lap. They're not yet in DRS range, but Spork's been taking 2 or 3 tenths out of Simonsich these last few laps. It's been a real pendulum race between the two of them. At one point, Simonsich will be gaining away and pulling away, and you're thinking, wow, he's got this in the bag, and then Spork will start to gain again. And it suddenly doesn't look as simple. So I'll continue to keep an eye on those two and their gaps. There you see the number of pit stops that people have made. David Fiduk, of course, with 2, because he made one very, very early and then pitted with others in the pit stage. I wonder if Fiduk maybe wanted to run the whole race on mediums, and of course you have to use two tyre compounds. You have to use the softs as well, but by running them for just 1 lap, he's allowed himself to effectively run the whole race on mediums, but with the cost of an extra pit stop, which I'm not sure will be worth it. But again, maybe he knows something that I don't. So the race continues. Stefan Rott still on the back of Stepkowski, with Ragusa chasing him. I could have said that for any one of the last maybe 10 or so laps. Here's Matthew Williams behind Florian Goer. This is a decent race for Goer. He hasn't had that much luck recently. Crashed out on the first lap at Hockenheim, of course, and hasn't really been the Flo Goer that was so competitive around the 2017-2018 series. Is yet to score a point in this championship. His best result was 16th at Azerbaijan, although running in the points today and trying to end that backmarking streak. But Matthew Williams is not going to make it easy for him. Matthew going through into P12 as we speak. I think Goer could definitely still score points today, although I'm not sure he has the strategic advantage over some of the people around him at this point. May end up 14th or 15th at the end of this, but it would still be the best result that he's managed this season. Yeah, I wonder what's happened to Goer the last few seasons. Maybe he's had less time to practice, or maybe everyone else has just got better and Goer stayed the same. But yeah, Goer was very, very good in 2017, and then since then just hasn't been anywhere near as high up the field as he was then. is Stefan Roll. P9. Happy birthday. Oh, who's that to? Is that Stefan? Ah, okay, apparently it's Stefan Roll's birthday. Nice. Well, happy birthday to Stefan. Just noticed that on the halo. And wouldn't it be a birthday treat if he was able to get a good result in this race? Of course, the top 10 is decent, but he scored top 10 so far this season. He'll be wanting to gain even more places than that. Raw is P2 in the championship at the minute. Of course, won the Chinese Grand Prix and got 3 more podiums in Canada, Britain and Germany, and now going through on the inside of Stepkowski and makes it stick. Happy birthday indeed. And of course is gaining points over Yannick Bock in this race, because Bock is still only P20 after his first corner accident. Although we'll be losing a lot of points to Yerny Simoncic. Now Bock will still be leading the championship at the end of this round. Is Simoncic gaining 14 or more points over Raw? Well, Simoncic, of course, will score 25 if he finishes there. And then P8 is worth 8 points. Okay, so that means that's 17 points. Yeah, so Simoncic would pass Raw in the championship if they were to finish like that. Thanks, Tom, for letting me know how many points 8th place is worth. Yeah, so it looks as if at the end of this round, Bock would be leading the championship, followed by Simoncic and then Raw, but it would be a lot closer between the top 3 than it currently is. That is if things finish like this. As I keep saying in this race, we have a long way to go. We're over halfway through this race now, but as I said, it's a long race. Right, Kilk in the pits, comes in from about P11 or 12, and is going to come out just outside of the points, I think. That puts Fidek into P15. I think Fidek's probably still going to score a point or 2 today. Kilk comes out P19, so behind Federico Rosso, and with a lot of time to be gained here. You lose a lot of time in this pit stop. I'm surprised actually, because it's not a particularly long pit lane here. Although I guess you do have the 2 relatively slow corners on the entrance and exit. Yeah, but the exit's on the inside line. Anyway, you're losing more time than I expected in the pits this day. Lap 27 out of 44. Still, Colin Spork is really pushing. He's been setting personal best after personal best these last few laps. But Simoncic is retaliated. Simoncic has enough to cover that off. But Spork is putting pressure on him. And it's important for Simoncic that he doesn't allow Spork to get into DRS range. Daniel Brewer in the pit, so it looks as if the second pit window is about to kick off potentially. Brewer is the first of the leaders to duck in, and that means that he's probably going to have to go. Well, he's going to have to go 16 more laps on. It's going to be another set of mediums, isn't it? Yeah, that's definitely doable. If he was to go onto soft tires now, I'd be worried, but that's definitely doable. Comes out behind Williams. Now that's a car that he's definitely got to pass, because Williams... Actually, never mind, because Williams still has one more stop to do, doesn't he? Florian Gaia came into the pits that last time around as well. Drops outside of the points. Come on, Fly, you can score. I'm pretty sure Florian has it in him, but... Anyway... So yeah, Matthew Williams still has to stop once more. He's in the top 10 currently, but hasn't yet used a second compound of dryer tyre. Here's Kilk, passing Rosso, sorry. And that is for P17. And they're on alternate strategies as well. I think Rosso is going to struggle to score points today. In fact, both of the green stripes cars really started to drop back at around the halfway point in this race. Both Russo and his teammate Mirko Lucchini, who's currently running P13. Hasn't been a great day for that team either, but then again, this whole championship has been a little bit dud for the Green Stripes team. They're currently last in the championship. Did score a point last time out though. Lucchini got them a P15. And Russo got them a P15 earlier this season in India. But so on to another lap they go. 15 laps remaining in this race now, or 14 and a half if you look where the leaders are. And the gap between the leaders came right out there. I think Sport must have made a mistake because he didn't stop. Sport lost a second to Simoncic. He lost about 8/10 on that last lap, so I think it probably happened in the latter stages of the last lap. But yeah, that could be crucial because that means that Simoncic no longer has anywhere near as much pressure on his tail, and he can just focus on the road ahead of him and just driving his own race now. And that definitely puts Spork even more on the back foot. But yeah, there was definitely a mistake from Colin Spork. I don't see how else he would have lost that much time in that little time, if that makes sense. Maybe his tyres are going off. Here we go, come up towards the second pit stage, the second pit window. Simoncic, of course, stays out, and Spork doesn't. Spork is in the pits. And that will mean he's going to go on to another set of mediums to the end of the race. Now, is Simoncic going to be able to stay out for long enough to go on to another set of softs? If he does, I think that pretty much guarantees the win for Jani Simoncic. And I know I'm speaking way too early for that, but anyway, we'll see. First of all, let's see what Spork does. He goes soft! Wow, so Spork is going to do the final 15 laps of this race, final 14 laps of this race, on the soft tyres. Wow. It is going to be 15 laps actually, but that's risky from Colin Spork. Those tyres are going to suffer towards the end. But if he can gain enough time to jump ahead of Jani Simoncic here, Ragusa's now alongside Raw. Look at this, Ragusa to the outside and goes through, and they're now up into 4th place due to some pit stops up ahead of them. But yeah, so that's Ragusa passing Raw, and he's been on the tail of him for a very, very long time now. Not sure I saw him get past Dubkovsky, but I may just be forgetting that one. But anyway, the gap between Spork and Simoncic is 24.8 seconds. Leon Bock is currently second, but he is also yet to stop. Here's Robin Panzer passing Florian Gaia. On the outside, through he goes. Gaia is P14 though, and I don't think he's going to have to stop again. And that means that Gaia is probably going to be in the points at the end of this one, which would be very good for him. And Simoncic pits, so Simoncic is in from the lead of the race, and that is to be expected. Now, does he know that Spork is on softs, and will he do the same? Yes, he does! Jani Simoncic is on soft tyres. Leon Bock is also in the pits behind them. Simoncic exits. Where's Spork? Did he gain enough on that lap to get close enough to Simoncic to challenge into La Source? No, he's further behind than he was last time they stopped, but that's to be expected because he was further behind before the pit stages as well. Daniel Brewer just set the fastest lap of the race. So Simoncic and Spork are now both out of the pits, and you can visually see the gap between the two of them, but no, you can't because we're looking at Matthew Williams. He's on the... Actually, he's dropping back from Brewer because, as I said, Brewer set the fastest lap of anyone that last time around. But that now means that the top 5 or so are in the order that they're expected to finish in. And any changes now are going to have to come on track. It's Simoncic leading from Spork, Bock, Brewer and Williams. Not sure if Gobby still has to make a pit stop. I think he probably does, doesn't he? Actually, I'll double check to see when the last times he pitted was. No, it was last lap, so Gobby is... he's 6th. So Gobby's gained a few places through the strategy here. Very good race from Fabrizio. Probably the second most popular racer in this series behind Jeffrey Fournier. You often see the Fournier and Gobby fans shouting out their names in the YouTube chat. And hello to everyone who is watching on YouTube right now. I hope you're having a great time here at GPVWC. Enjoy it, because as I said, there's going to be 4 weeks until the next round, and we are all going to suffer the withdrawal. So let's see what the gap is between Simoncic and Spork across the line this time. It's about 1.4 seconds, and Spork sets the fastest lap of the race, so Spork is well and truly pushing. Can he get within DRS range of Simoncic in the next couple of laps? It's going to be important because Spork's tyres are 1 lap older than Simoncic's. But at a track this long, that could be all the difference. And of course, they're both pushing them for quite a long way. But yeah, when Simoncic saw that Spork was unsoft, he knew he had to cover him off. He would have had a voice in his ear telling him that that's what Spork had done. Not sure who he's in a call with, if anyone, but someone would have told him. So here they go through pool. Towards Lafania. Simoncic doing an excellent job in this race so far, and actually appears to be gaining and pulling away from Spork on this lap so far. I wouldn't be surprised if Simoncic's name comes up in purple as he crosses the line here. I think this is definitely the fastest lap of the race so far from Yerne, because Colin's definitely pushing, but he's dropping back. I think Yerne has done enough. Let's see what he does. Yes, it's definitely the fastest of the race so far. It's a 1:41.253, which is 0.6 of a second faster than Spork's last lap. Whoa! So Yerne Simoncic on a charge, fastest driver on the circuit. And Gobby is side by side with Williams is in the pits. My apologies, Williams is in the pits. So Matthew Williams, and we knew that he had to stop again. So that now does mean that the top 5 are in their order. Because Fabrizio Gobby, of course, has stopped the last time. Here's David Fidek. 15th, no, drops back. Lucchini still 15th. And they're going to come out relatively close to Williams. Actually, Williams exiting the pits now on the exit of La Source. P13 for Matthew Williams at this point. 11 laps to go in this race. Well, this is great stuff. With 3/4 of the way through, it looks to me as if Simoncic is going to win this race unless he makes any mistakes, or unless his tyres go off before Spork's do. But, and there is Fidek getting past Lucchini now. It would be tragic for Green Stripes if they were to fail to score again, because Lucchini has been doing a very decent job so far in this race. Looked as if he was going to score earlier, but I'm not so sure now, I'm afraid. But anyway, yeah, 3/4 of the way through this race, and it's been an exciting one. I think Simoncic has done enough unless he makes a mistake, but I mean, to have done enough, you've got to have done the full race distance, of course. Car number 17 up Radion once again. Doesn't have to worry about Spork in the DRS. He's too far back. On their last laps, Simoncic took another 10th away from Colin Spork. Leon Bock's been running a very steady, very kind of anonymous 3rd place in this race, but yeah, very good job from him, picking up the points that his teammate unfortunately forcefully left behind. And Leon, of course, has been on the podium so far this season. He stood on the podium with Yannick in Azerbaijan. But this would be possibly his best drive yet. I think Austria was probably his best drive, come to think of it, but this has been a very good one for Leon Bloch so far. He's going to get a lot closer to Roll in the championship as well. He'll still be 4th after this round, I think, but will be close to getting into the top 3. Now this is Christian Pascal, another of the drivers who's struggling for pace today and will probably struggle to get into the points. But he's pushing on those soft tyres. He's on the back of Geoffrey Fournier. And last lap, once again, Simoncic took 5/10, half a second out of Spork. So that means that the gap between the two of them is now 3 seconds. Brief yellow flag showing up. I'm going to have a quick look back through the cars, see if it's Moritz Kropp who's out of the race, I'm afraid. So Moritz Kropp was running at the back anyway. I'm afraid he is now retired. 21 drivers still remaining in this race. Actually, we're not too far away from seeing Lapparies potentially. Max Lister is going to be the first car to be put a lap down. And possibly the only car, I'm afraid, looking at the list. Shouldn't feel too embarrassed about it. It is his first Super League race, of course, and as I said before, he's had trouble with the new brake pedal that he is racing with today. And I can tell you, if I was racing in this race, then I would probably struggle to even finish the thing, let alone stay on the lead lap. So I think he's doing a decent job, even if the points aren't going to show that, I'm afraid. So, towards the end of this race, the main things to watch, of course, got to keep an eye on the lead gap, because even though Simoncic is pulling away, there's always a chance that he's using up too much of his tyres or something along those lines. And of course that's important for the race victory itself. And of course further back, Kilk and Panzer are still relatively close. We're watching that. Matthew Williams, the third car in that train, just behind them. This is the top proper battle on the track right now, where drivers have DRS from the car in front. It's over 11th, 12th and 13th positions. They're heading up to Radion this time, so slipstreaming galore inbound. You can just see Stefan Rohr up the road as well, so the two Holland Racing Team cars are in the top 10. Oh, and Panzer gets close, but no cigar because they're bad for your health. And look at Williams, oh! Thought he was going to go for a dive into the third part of Le Con there. Wow. It's been a very clean race, I'm glad to say. Of course, we had a bit of first lap carnage with Yannick Bloch being caught out and a few other drivers. Of course, Matthias Moos crashed out with Robin Panzer, but ever since then it's been a very clean race. And yeah, we've had retirements. Of course, Mathieu Winnick lost his front wing, but you expect to see a lot more drivers, spinning and dropping back, but just haven't seen that today, which is a very good thing. Because these races, of course, are organised for the drivers primarily, and if the drivers aren't having fun, then there's no real point in doing it. The other battles on track right now, of course, Fournier is still on the back of Pascal, although Pascal will be pulling away at this point. And then that is about it. Max Lister has now been put a lap down, so we have 20 cars on the lead lap. So, once again, here are Kilk, Panzer and Williams. onto the straight, and we saw how close they got last time around. Can they do it again? Probably. Look how defensive Kilt going there. Not allowing Panther to get the early toe, but look at that. Panther with the DRS round the outside. Gets the inside line. Williams takes a look. Tense stuff, but Panther gets the place. And remember, Panther was facing the barriers on lap 1 in Le Comp. And round the outside goes Williams. Amazing move there from Matthew Williams in the MDR. That was great stuff to get ahead of Kilk there. But yeah, as I was saying, Panther had an accident on the first lap with Matthias Moose, which took Moose out of the race, but now Panther is back into P11. Decent drive, still will be disappointed with that, of course. He had the pace for much better, but sometimes you just got to take what comes to you. Anyway, we do have a battle now for 4th place. Fabrizio Gobbi has been catching Dan Brewer the last few laps, and he's on his trail. DRS open. As I said though, you don't normally get moves into turn 1 because then your opponent just sweeps straight back past you in this sector here. Flat out from the X of La Source all the way to the entrance to Le Comp. And the second DRS zone is the one that matters, this one here. And Fabrizio Gobbi is going for P4. This is excellent stuff. Fabrizio Gobbi gets through on the inside and covers him off. I think Gobbi started something like 9th or 10th in this round. I think it was 9th, wasn't he? So this has been a very good recovery drive from Fabrizio Gobbi. I say recovery drive, it's 9th to 4th. It's not like 9th was too far down on the grid, but even so, plenty of places gained, and Gobbi has been a big winner from today's race. So, towards the latter part of the race we go. Lap 38 out of 44. Not much time left for things to change. Let's see if Brewer can stick with Gobbi. Now Gobbi, of course, is on the soft tyres, with Brewer on the mediums. But of course, if Brewer can stick with him and maybe keep putting pressure on him, Gobbi's tyres might go off towards the end, giving Brewer another chance. Onto lap 39 goes Yanni Simoncic. So, 6 laps including this one to go. I think Brewer is going to keep dropping back from Gobbi at this point. Gobbi's just been so good, and he's kept his cards close to his chest until the late stages, where he's bolted on those soft tyres, and now he is really starting to fly. Only about half a second off the fastest lap of the race so far. Actually scratched that. Fastest lap is a 141.2. Goodness, the fastest lap in this race is the F1 pole position record. My goodness. These Super League cars even faster than their real life counterparts. It would be amazing if you could actually build a car like this. It's definitely possible, because you'd have to take away a few of the real life restrictions and do a bit of illegal mechanical tinkering. But you could definitely make an F1 car go this fast, I think. You saw how much the Porsche 919 Evo went than its LMP1 counterpart at this circuit. That very briefly held the outright lap speed record at Spa before F1 caught up. Anyway, lap 40 now. We are well and truly into the final final stages of this race. 5 laps remaining now. Simoncic's gap is still 3.4 seconds, so he still has enough time in hand to maybe back off a little and still win this race. Someone who doesn't have that luxury, of course, is Fabrizio Gobbi. Here's Jeffrey Fournier. Doesn't look as if he's going to be scoring points today for Scuderia Basilia, I'm afraid to say. And of course, that means that Scuderia Brasilia would be pointless because Germano Zappala is already out of this this race. Didn't think I'd be saying that a few years ago when they were dominating Super Cup so impressively, but anyway. Scuderia Brasilia is a team that I've really followed up through the ranks, because when I joined GPVWC, they were dominating the Formula Challenge ranks back in 2017. And then of course the next year, they had Winnick and Roll for Super Cup, and they dominated that. Then went up to Super League Lights and didn't dominate it, but they did pretty flipping well. And that's how they got so quickly into Super League. And since they've been in Super League, haven't had so much luck. But to be honest, they're doing a great job to even be there. A lot of people mistake them for Scuderia Brasilia, but they have nothing to do with Brazil. And it pretty much winds up Team Boss David Yunt when people say Brasilia. Of course, Basilia is based on, think about basilisks or serpents or whatever. And there's a bit of a scaly design to their livery. So, lap 41 out of 44 now. I swear these laps are going past quicker than the previous ones have. This race is going to be done before we know it. Brewer has managed to stick with Gobby. Wasn't sure if he was going to be able to, but he has. And he has the DRS. So is Gobby going to be able to hold off Brewer? His recent victim, of course. But once he got past, maybe his tyres just started to drop. I'd be surprised because when tyres drop, when slick tyres drop, there's a bit of a cliff, and it's not really that you gradually get slower. It's that one lap you're on the pace, and then the next lap you're miles off it. And we haven't seen that from Fabrizio Gobby. He is running about a second off the pace that he has done in this race, but that is his absolute fastest lap with DRS and slipstream and everything, so he's really not running that far off the pace here. Up towards Blanchimont once again. Further back, I'm wondering whether Royal's going to catch up to Daniel Stupkowski as well for P9. That appears to be getting closer, as does Flo Gaia versus David Fiduk for P14. So definitely not over yet for some of these drivers. Lap 42. Out of La Source. Gobby and Brewer very close. This is closer than they were a lap ago. Brewer ever so slightly faster on that last time around. Is this his opportunity? Did he get a good exit to Lacombe? La Source rather. Towards Lacombe. DRS wide open. Stays behind, but look at that. Gobby nowhere near comfortable at this point. Would this be Gobby's first top 5 of the season? Let me just double check that. No, he scored 2 podiums earlier this year, and another top 5 at Austria. Started off the season with 2 podiums in Australia and Bahrain. And has dropped back a little since then. Only P14 in France, but... Oh, and here's Gar and Fiduk, the 2 Epic Racing Team cars side by side. Not sure whether they've been asked to swap, but whatever the case, they have swapped. David Fiduk is P14, Florian Gaia P19 now. And did Yannick Bock just set the first lap of the race? Yes, he did. So Yannick Bock, who's still only P20, I'm afraid to say, and is still not going to score any points, at least scores the fastest lap. Actually, is the fastest lap worth a point? It is. It's in the top 15. Oh, that's tragic. Oh. Still, he'll steal the point from Simoncic, so that is still important, but even so, this is going to be a pointless day for Yannick Bock. And through no fault of his own either. I really don't believe that first corner accident was his fault, but I'll leave it up to the stewards, I suppose. Anyway. In fact, props to Buck for continuing in this race, because I guess a lot of people wouldn't have seen the point. Quite literally, there's no points on hand. Penultimate lap of the race now. And here's Stefan Rohl on the back of Daniel Stepkowski. I said he might catch him. Looks as if he will. Ooh, big twitch from Rohl. Hasn't been the best day for Rohl in terms of his championship challenge, but look at this. He's going to bag some more points. And Stepkowski tried to move over, but Rohl was already there. And he had to give him space. Good driving from the both of them, but it's Rohl who gets out ahead. Good stuff there. Takes some more points away from Yannick Buck. Again, he'll be getting closer to him in the championship, but Jani Simoncic will take second. Oh, contact, big hit into the wall. That's Geoffrey Fournier and Christian Pascal who have come together on the straight. Oh, get off the racing line, guys. And that is a big shame. Now, neither of them are going to score points anyway, but even so, that's not how we like to see a battle end. And I expect both of them are going to retire from this race, because there's no real point getting back to the pits at this point. And I recently said that this has been quite a clean race as well, and up until that point it had, but that was the biggest crash we've seen so far today. Fournier does now exit out of the session. He is out of the race, and Christian Pascal does the same. So as I expected, they are both out of this race. Final lap now for Jani Simoncic, and also this battle between Gobbi and Brewer. But the leaders are on the final lap. Simoncic has a 5-second advantage now, so he didn't really stop pushing even after getting away from Colin Spork. Brewer's going to get the DRS. This is his last opportunity to get back past Fabrizio Gobbi for P4. To the outside he goes. Are they going to make the corner? Makes it stick. Whoa, big twitch. He doesn't make it. Now, does he have to give that back? Gobbi takes a look. Now, he will argue that Gobbi forced him off the road. Oh, will he give that back, or does he keep P4 and leave it up to the stewards? Whatever the case, there's going to be an argument about that one, maybe. And that's how close it can get on the last lap of the race. Here's Jani Simoncic now, heading up towards Blanchimont. Just has a few more corners left in this race, and he has done an excellent job to win this one. Through Blanchimont, up towards the bus stop. He really had to fight for it with Colin Spork for a lot of this race. And of course, remember, was running only third at one point, but now he comes out of the final corner and wins at Spa-Francorchamps, Jani Simoncic, and that's his 4th victory of the season. Well done. Colin Spork is going to be P2, or 5 seconds behind. Then Leon Buck is P3. And what happens between Brewer and Gobbi? Looks as if Brewer is going to keep P4, so it's going to go down to the stewards if indeed it's reported. Daniel Brewer takes P4. And then Fabrizio Gobbi P5, despite running in P4 until the very last lap of the race. Thomas Vogt is P6. And then it's going to be Matteo Kiersmakers. Good drive from Matteo there. Giuseppe Ragusa, Stefan Rohl, and then Daniel Stepkowski. Matthew Williams is P11, Robin Panzer P12, Riot Kilk P13. David Feiduck does score a point despite a bizarre strategy. Florian Guy is going to score his first point of the season with P15. And I'm afraid once again green stripes are pointless because Mirko Lucchini is P16 and Federico Russo is P17. And the biggest shock of this entire race was that Yannick Buck came away with 0 points because he will be P18. He did steal the fastest lap, meaning no one will get a point for fastest lap. So Yannick keeps 1 point away from Jani Simoncic as he finishes P18, and props to him for finishing. Max Lister will finish his first GPVWC Super League race P19, and the retirements were Christian Pascal, Geoffrey Fournier, Moritz Kropp, Maciej Winnick, Isaac Clark, Germano Zapala, and Matthias Moos, who crashed out on the first lap of the race. So that's the lot. There you see the order on your screen as I've just read it out. Jani Simoncic, the winner, ahead of Colin Spork and Leon Buck. That's your podium. 3 different teams in the top 3. In fact, 8 different teams in the top 8. Look at that. That's what we like to see. Wait, never mind. 7 in the top 7, because of course GSR are the first team to get both of their cars back. Good good performance from GSR there. I said to look out for them today. And there are the rest of your top 20. Only 19 finishes at the end. A little bit of a race of attrition. Not as much as we've seen at some races in the past, but even so, the drivers who finished did well to finish. And that is the lot. Now make sure you don't go anywhere, because we've got interviews with some of the most important drivers in this race coming up. In fact, let us start with our race victor, Jenny Silincic. You there?
Hello.
Fantastic. So Jenny, you've just won your 4th Super League Grand Prix of the season. It was one you had to fight for. It wasn't a dominant victory, but that's got to make it feel sweeter, right?
Well, to me, it felt pretty dominant, to be honest. Well, I know that Yannick had his race-defining moment with the incident in turn 1, and yeah, it was looking anyway to be a really hard battle with Colin, and I was losing ground in the first laps, but then I saw my tire wear is much better, and I could gain seconds in the last laps of the stint. So then it was just about staying in my place and pushing when it mattered, and in the end I had very, very comfortable last stint where I could just preserve and had some fun in the last 3 laps.
And that now puts you second in the champion. Oh, sorry about my dog, if you can hear that. That now puts you second in the championship by my reckoning. Are you looking at Yannick up ahead? Do you think you can catch him?
I am completely confused about this series, this standings, this car. I don't know. Sometimes I like today win without huge issues. Sometimes I end up P8 or P13. I don't understand it. It's not like I practice differently. So I decided I will not really have any targets in this championship, but just take it race by race, enjoy the races, try to win everything, and probably fail multiple times. But let's see what happens. Maybe with some bad luck for Yannick or huge luck for myself, I can get close again. But then again, I had already my fair share of bad luck earlier this season.
Now, there seemed to be a turning point in that race, because you were dropping back at the start. You dropped to second and then to third. And then all of a sudden, you started setting fastest lap after fastest lap and gaining back the places. Did something change?
Yeah, what changed was that suddenly Leon started losing ground to Colin, and I knew that if I don't start pushing now, then Colin will drive away and I will have huge issues catching him. So I took my chances, pushed the front tires a lot in 1 lap, come within half a second of Leon, and so I can go for it. And then somehow my tires were still a lot better than Colin's. So yeah, that was an important moment for the race.
Well, congratulations. That was a very good victory. And yeah, good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
Okie dokie. Well, let's talk now to the winning team. This is Cam Roger from Burst Esports. Now Cam, bit of an up and down race. You had, of course, one driver P1, and then the other one, of course, had an incident on the first lap. But let's start with the positives. Jenny Silincic, another victory in this championship.
Yeah, I think that's the 4th one this season. So that's nice. Yeah, really good race from him. Pace was amazing. Colin helped us a little bit, pitting 1 lap earlier than we expected. So yeah, having the 1 lap tire advantage definitely helps quite a lot. But yeah, Yoni's pace was just really good, so it was nice and easy for me. I just had to make sure everything was going fine. But yeah, for Robin, yeah, really sorry for Yannick. Yeah, Robin just obviously misjudged the turn 1, which is a bit of a shame because his pace was really good as well. Even after he sort of got back going, his pace was still the same with the top 5 for most of the race. So yeah, a positive race in that regard for Robin, because he struggled a little bit for some races this season. So that's really good. But yeah, just a bit of a shame to not finish so high, but you know, incidents happen. So yeah, as you say, bit of a mixed bag, but yeah, getting another win is always good because, as I said, Colin was just so fast. I was a bit worried because I really thought he was going to run away at one point, but then Yerney managed to get back past Leon in the first stint and then really put the pressure on. So yeah, it was a good race.
Indeed. So you're currently P5 in the standings. Not sure if you've moved up in that race. I haven't done the calculations or anything. How are you working with your drivers to make sure you can move up the series?
Well, for Robin, it's really just he as I said, he's struggling in a couple of races this season. So a lot of his preparation is he just needs to make sure he's getting a bit more comfortable with the car and with the pace, which he definitely did for this race. So that's looking good as we get towards the end of the season. And with Yerney, I mean, as we know, he's capable of winning races, so he just needs to obviously show up and do the business. And getting pole position certainly helps with that. So yeah, I think really from the constructors' point of view, it's obviously how many points Robin can get, but he's certainly improving over the last few races. So hopefully that can continue because it would be nice to get a bit higher. There has been a few issues here and there this season, but getting towards the top 3, I think certainly a good goal. But there's still a few races left.
Well, congratulations on another victory. Your team's 4th of the series, and good luck in future rounds.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so that was Cameron Roger from Burst Esports. Back to the drivers now. Let's talk to our 2nd place finisher, Colin Spork. Colin, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic. Well, Colin, 2nd place. You were fighting hard with Yerney, but it just wasn't to be in the end there.
No, Jörn did a really good job. In the last stint, when I came off the pits, I just tried to push one lap, and he got very close. But then he just took out us. He just added another turbo and fucking went very quick. So then I just decided to say, nah, I'm sitting behind, saving tires and defending if Leon will catch up. But in the end, that didn't happen. So comfortably P2.
Indeed. Well, so P2 in the end. That is still a very good result. That's your, let me just double check. That's your 5th GPWC podium so far. And I'm not even going to count how many points finishes you've had, but yeah. And that, of course, puts you a lot closer to the leaders in the championship because you finished out of Leon, you finished out of Stefan, you finished out of Yannick. What are your goals for the rest of the season?
Well, just trying to get the max amount of every race, and then in the end of the season, I'll see where I end up. But I'm just focusing on myself and trying to extract the best every single race I do and every time I hit the track. So I'll try to keep doing that, and hopefully the pace will be good until the end of the season. So at least the last few races went pretty good for us, pace-wise. Not always the result I wanted, but in the end, a lot of points. So hopefully we continue this to the end of the season, and it is nice to be P2 now on the home track for my team. So congrats to them as well, also for the good car they put on again. So yeah.
Indeed. And when can we expect your first win?
As soon as possible. I'll try my best. I'm trying.
Fantastic. Final question, and sorry if this is embarrassing at all. What do you have to say about your language?
What? Why?
Because you said bad word.
Oh yeah. Okay, he added another PPV turn turbo.
Anyway,
No.
Thank you so much, Colin. Sorry about that, but yeah,
No, good.
congratulations on your P2, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, and start with Colin's work. Yeah, apologies about his language, but emissions running very high, and yeah. Right, let's speak to last but not least, Leon Bock. In fact, very much not least, because he finished 3rd. Leon, are you there?
Yes, hello.
So, Leon, that is your 3rd podium of the season so far, and you're actually right up at the pointy end for the majority of this race. Quite a quiet one in the end, though. How did you find it?
Yeah, my pace was, I think for me, it was pretty consistent. Not at the pace for the top 2. They were just quicker today, at least for me. I think Yannick could have been up there, but very unfortunate that he got kicked out of the race in the first turn. So could have been maybe double, not double podium, but like more points.
Indeed. Well, Ian, sorry, P3, and picking up where your brother unfortunately dropped a few points at the start. Are you still happy with that result as a whole, or would you have preferred it with Yannick up there?
Yeah, obviously would prefer it with Yannick because he's in a championship lead. And we were like for the first time this season both up in qualifying. So hope for a good result, but yeah, it is racing. At least I could manage to get on the podium today and score some points. So yeah,
absolutely. And you were ahead of the eventual race winner at one point. Did you think you could hold him off, or what happened there?
Yeah, I tried to obviously be in front and give it everything, but my tires dropped maybe more than from Yannick and Colin, so I couldn't keep quite the pace. Yeah, lost it then with 2 to 3 tenths each lap. So yeah.
You sound quite tired actually. So anyway, go and have a rest, and congratulations on your third place finish there.
Yeah, thanks.
Okie dokie, so that's all we got time for today from GPVWC in Spa-Francorchamps. It's been a good one, and unfortunately we now have 4 weeks to wait before the next round, which is going to be at Monza in Italy. So make sure you turn up for that on the 26th of August now. I won't be able to. I'm going to have to miss that round because I'm going to be on holiday. And it's a big shame because that means I'm going to be suffering from even more withdrawal than the rest of you, having to wait until Singapore to see a round live. But anyway, make sure that you enjoy that one, and as much as I enjoyed today's racing. I've been Caitlin Penny. Thank you very much to everyone I just interviewed, as well as Tom Stevens, who was providing you with the cameras and the broadcast and the overlays and everything that you saw visually today. And of course GPVWC for organising this wonderful racing championship. So that's a lot for today, and we will see you in 4 weeks. So make sure you're putting on the sunscreen and looking after yourself, taking it easy over the summer break, and we will be back on the 26th of August. See you then.